cigarette here. Okay. This song, I sing a song.
You sing a song now, yeah.
I sing a song. Yeah, no,
Say good morning.
Yeah. Tengo marcado en el pecho todos los días que el tiempo no me dejó estar aquí. Tengo una fe que madura, que va conmigo y me cura desde que te conocí. Perdida de tu copa en la mía que me desnuda ante ti. Tengo una moneda en la fuente, mi deseo pendiente, mis ganas de revivir. Tengo una mañana constante y una acuarela esperando que te he pintado de azul. Un caminito empinado, tengo el mar del otro lado, eres mi norte y mi sur. Hoy voy a verte de nuevo, voy a envolverme en tu ropa, susurrarme en tu silencio cuando te vea llegar. Hoy voy a verte de nuevo, voy a alegrar tu tristeza. Vamos a hacer una fiesta para que este amor crezca más. Hoy voy a verte de nuevo, voy a envolverme en tu ropa, susurrarme en tu silencio cuando te vea llegar. Hoy voy a verte de nuevo, voy a alegrar tu tristeza. Vamos a hacer una fiesta para que este amor crezca más. Hoy voy a verte de nuevo, voy a envolverme en tu ropa, susurrarme en tu silencio cuando te vea llegar. Hoy voy a verte de nuevo, voy a alegrar tu tristeza. Vamos a hacer una fiesta para que este amor crezca más.
Good morning, everybody. It's so good to see you, and so good to see you guys out there in the virtual world as well. Welcome to our annual Day of the Dead celebration, All Souls Day, Samhain, whatever and however you celebrate it. We have special music this morning. We have Enrique and Tomo as our music. So before we get started, instead of having a question of the day, what we want to do is kind of just create some space. And so for the next couple of moments, if you have a token, a memento, or just want to bring a candle up here For anyone that has passed, this would be the opportunity for you to come up and light some candles and get some stuff here on our altar. So we'll do that now, and I do want a few of them myself. 1, 4, 5, 6. So before we begin, I just want to acknowledge Andrea and her team of Charla and Luann who came in yesterday and set up the altar. So when I first came here back in 2005, I decided that I was going to spend a couple nights in the building. Just to kind of get a feel of the vibe of the building here, and it was pretty busy at night. And as I'm looking at all the lights, I'm thinking, you know, we've got the virtual world, we have the physical world, we have the transcendent world, and it seems like these guys are winning today. We have more. It must be the marigolds, because you know it is. The tradition is that the dead are able to follow or find the place because of the marigolds, the color and the scent and all of that. So here we are, Transcendent Central. So good morning, everybody. It's so good to have you here. We're going to suspend having a question of the day only because you know, all the activities that are kind of going on, and we have a feast set out for you afterwards. And by special dispensation, because of the holiday, we're going to allow people to have, there's cold beer afterwards as well for those of you who would like a nice cold beer at the end of service. There you go. So good having you guys here today. And Lee, it's always a pleasure. And Craig, always fabulous to have you here as well. I think what we'll do is we'll just jump right in and move with service. I want to say again hello and greetings to those of you in the virtual world. And if you'd like to light a candle and join us in consciousness, please do so.
You want announcements?
Oh yeah, I'll do announcements. So that's a good idea. So we have a big Thanksgiving dinner on and holiday gift sale, and that's going to be happening November 23rd after service. There's a sign-up sheet if you want to bring something. There's going to be lots of food. It's going to be a wonderful. It's our way of just saying thank you for being here. So we'll provide turkeys and some other good things, and so that will be after service. So please plan on attending then.
Hold on.
Oh.
So please announce that Merity wants all the art people who are donating by the 9th or the 16th to bring all their art.
Okay, so if you're going to be donating art or anything for the holiday sale, please do it today. But no, by the 19th.
By the 16th.
By the 16th. Yes. And Christmas artifacts, anything. Yep. Except living things. No ponies or puppies. Please. I think we're going to suspend the book study today only because we have Day of the Dead and we got a big feast happening today. I'm so sorry to say, but we'll pick up with that. That's next Friday. So next Friday at Seaside, I'm going to be joined with, or I'm joining Reverend Christian Sorensen and Dr. Kathy Hearn and Reverend Kevin Busey. We're doing a panel on New Thought in the World. It should be really interesting. It's at Seaside at 7 o'clock. I'd love for you guys to come on out and join in on that. So that's happening next Friday night. Let's see, youth and family. Reverend Laura is down. If you have, there's no kids here, but maybe they're down there with her. So anyway, there's a kid thing happening. Anything else I need to see? This is like taking an eye test. Yes, Matt.
Yeah, the tickets for the New Thought thing, just go to the Seaside Center website. There's a link for it.
Yeah. Oh, thank you for letting me. Yeah, go to the Seaside website and the link for the tickets are there. You can probably buy them at the door too. I don't think it's going to sell out, but you never know. You get a you get it. Well, if you get a discount, for goodness sakes, then do it. Yes, and a beautiful sky. I saw a thing this morning as I was reading the news. There were some trucks, and they were moving the stones from Stonehenge to bring them back an hour. I thought that was funny as well. So okay, all right. Let's. I'll let Craig take us on here and bring us into service and prayer.
Thank you, Reverend Guy. I just want to say before we start how amazing it is to have Reverend Guy on that panel. Mm-hmm. We're so fortunate to have you. One of 4 people for Centers of Spiritual Living speaking there. Okay. So my name is Craig, as you probably have heard a couple of times already, but it's just my honor and my privilege to be with you anytime, but this is a special occasion, so I feel very honored in doing so. And let us begin just by consecrating or making this space, making us aware, because this is a sacred space, but just putting ourselves into alignment with a prayer. So however that works for you to go inside, for it is within us, each of us, there is this place of stillness, this place of the soul. Perhaps just closing your eyes. When we close our eyes, naturally our attention turns inward. And just assessing this body, this beautiful vehicle for your soul, letting it relax. Feeling it being supported not only by your seat, but as we touch the ground, Mother Earth below is there, giving us life-giving support. And of course, breathing. There's no limit to the life you can bring into this beautiful body. So take a few breaths now. And just bring it in and let it go. And just know with me that right here in this place, in this moment, as is true in every moment, everywhere, there is this divine presence. That which is beyond names, and it has many names. For my convenience now, I'll just call it God. Spirit. It is beyond any measure of time or space, yet it occupies all time and space. It is infinite in so many dimensions, but all being good. Intelligence and wisdom guiding all the cosmos and each of us. Intelligent in love, a love that is indiscriminate, inclusive, boundless, increasing. Creative, it's through this love, this outpouring itself, that we and all life has come into being, whether those are those who have preceded us today that we honor, or those that are to come. This continuous outpouring of an expanding cosmos, the very body of God. We recognize that presence, and just by the fact that we are breathing, thinking, feeling, sensing human beings, we have arisen from that presence, made in its image and likeness, therefore inseparable, a part of God. So we allow ourselves to feel that truth. And it is upon these two truths, the presence of the divine and our connection continuously with it, that I just bless this event. Knowing that each of us bring into our hearts the memory of those that have passed, and hold on fast to a legacy to pass on those that pass before us and beyond us. How grateful I am to know that each mind and heart here today is touched. So much so that there is a continuous outpouring from each of us of gratitude and love. I'm grateful too for the words of Reverend Guy for inspiration and guidance, and also for each of us honoring each other. Therefore, all is well. I let it go, I let it be, and so it is. So it's time to bring some words for inspiration, and I think it's so amazing how there's a thread between so many different cultures and traditions, that there's something more to this life than this body, right? In fact, the person who founded this philosophy, now known as Centers for Spiritual Living, in the very first publication of what's called the Science of Mind magazine, in 1927, he wrote something called What We Believe. And that is still being published both digitally and in print. And it says, we believe in the eternality, immortality, and continuity of the individual soul forever and ever expanding. So we just stand on that platform of truth today. And it's with that this poem came to my mind. Of course, it's from that 13th century poet and mystic Jalaluddin Rumi. And it's entitled On the Day I Die. And to me, it just paints the perspective of what Ernest Holmes says, but in a way that is not only poetic, but brings us to the place that if we really believe in his statement, there's cause also in death for joy. So it goes like this. On the day that I die, when I'm being carried to the grave, don't weep. Don't say, he's gone. He's gone. Death has nothing to do with going away. The sun sets and the moon sets, but they're not gone. Death is a coming together. The tomb looks like a prison, but it's really a release into union. The human seed goes down into the ground like a bucket into the well where Joseph is. It grows and comes up full of some unimagined beauty. Your mouth closes here and immediately opens there with a shout of joy. And so now the invitation is to take in these words at whatever level they strike you and take a few moments to contemplate. You'll hear our bowl ringing, and that's just the invitation to continue that inward journey. And when you hear it again, we'll be coming back to each other. And so perhaps gently and slowly, just with a sense of heartfelt gratitude, the fact that you're here, the fact that you love, bring your awareness back to this room.
I would just like also to say before we introduce Enrique and Tomoko, if you came, Tomo, Tomo? Tomo, thank you. If you came in late and you'd like to light some candles and place them on the altar during this song, this would be a good time to do it. And now, so good having you guys here.
Thank you very much for having us, guys. Thank you very much. This is a very special day for me, and you know, as one of the traditions that I grew up with, it's very interesting because, well, a year ago, my dad is not here, and I'm gonna say, like you say, like they really know he's not gone because he's been more present in my life than ever again. Because you know, I remember every day, all the moments that we have, good, bad, and it's so interesting because this morning, I was Tom and me were talking about that I put the offering in my house, and she was asking me about all these people, no, and who's this and this. Even I have my dog, one of my dog in the, and I was talking about my dog, how amazing personality. He had babies all over the neighborhood. So anyways, so very interesting. But it's so interesting because when she was asking me all these questions about all the families and friends that they live this world, but like you say, they're not really they're still here, you know, because when she was asking me, I was telling her all these stories about every person, and then, you know, it's amazing because that's basically the beautiful thing about this celebration, you know. Keep the memories, the good moments from all these people, and without knowing them, I know they have amazing stories, they have up and downs, you know. Sometimes I just think and I laugh at something that my dad did, you know. One of the last moments that he made me laugh so hard, he was getting very sick, and I called him to say hi, and my mom says, "Stop working in your underwear." That's one. And I was like, oh, that's my dad. I can see him like that. So anyways, and also it's a very special day for me because, you know, Thomas in my life, she's a very special person for me. And then she has so much amazing spirit, and I want her to share this song with you guys. That is very, very, very beautiful.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me today on this special occasion. I'm originally from Japan, as you can tell from my name, too. We have a similar tradition in Japan. It's called Obon. We celebrate in August, and we give offerings, and we light candles and stuff. And we always say that on that day, all these past people will come visit us. But my mom always likes to go to the cemetery to give offerings, but she also wants to do it at home. I'm like, Mom, where are they? Are they at the cemetery or are they here at home? Like, which one are they visiting? I'm confused. Yes. But they're everywhere probably, right? But okay, so I'm going to sing this song. That's a Japanese song, but in English name is called Sukiyaki. I came to find out, it came out in 1961. And it's named Sukiyaki because this person, the producer, went to Japan, and the best meal that he had was sukiyaki. And it has nothing to do with sukiyaki, so I'm going to tell you the lyrics, which is more meaningful. The lyric says, "Let's walk with our heads held high so that tears won't spill." So something happened to this person. Maybe they broke up, something that happens in life that's very universal, I think. All over the world, we go through those things. And reminiscing about the spring days, and it's a very lonely night. And that's the first verse. And the second verse says, "Let's walk with our heads held high, counting the blurred stars because you're crying." Reminiscing about the summer days and lonely night. And the chorus part says, "Happiness is above the clouds, and happiness is above the sky." So if you can think of the lyrics as I sing, maybe you can feel it more than just a sukiyaki. That's tasty, but yeah, it's more meaningful. ちの夜上を向いて歩こうよ涙がこぼれないように思い出す春の日一人ぼっちの夜幸せは雲の上に幸せは空の上に上を向いて歩こうよ涙がこぼれないように泣きながら歩く一人ぼっちの夜一人ぼっちの夜一人ぼっちの夜
I'm gonna move this. Well, I think maybe I can stay here. I'll wander around. I think I'll stay here. I'm okay. I thought it was gonna be crowded, but oh well. So what I have to say is thank you so much. I will never hear that song the same way again. When you said I'm gonna do sukiyaki, I was like, oh. But isn't that true of appearances, right? We think one thing, and then all of a sudden it's put into perspective, and everything changes. Everything changes. So a couple weeks ago, I was at a theology conference. Andrea has suggested that I say I went to a theology conference that just happens to be called Theology Beer Camp, but that's beside the point. So I have this thing that I've been doing since I can even remember, but consciously doing since my 20s, which was I have this belief, this fantasy, that each and every one of us have taken what's known as the vow of the Bodhisattva. It's a Buddhist term. And the Bodhisattva is one who seeks Buddhahood and then chooses to return, it says, and return and continue to take birth until it says the very blades of grass are redeemed. So it's a vow that says, I will seek to do and be my very best, and I will do it for the benefit of all living beings. And I'm sure that everyone has taken that vow. And if you're like me, you probably took it in a bar on a bet many lifetimes ago. But here we are nonetheless. And so kind of in that, I have this tradition that wherever I go, and it's kind of a philosophy of mine, whether I've been to Europe or wherever, and last week I was in St. Paul, is there are two things that I always try to practice. One is to respect the local gods and to patronize the good restaurants. So I was in St. Paul, and not knowing much about St. Paul, I decided I would go to St. Paul Cathedral, which is magnificent. Anybody from St. Paul? Anybody been to the St. Paul Cathedral? You have. It's pretty remarkable, isn't it? Yeah, and it was interesting for me. It was really different from me because the Italian part of myself was raised Roman Catholic. So I went to this thing, and it's truly beautiful, but it reflects the culture, as all spiritual practices and all spiritual rituals and ceremonies do. They're reflective of a culture. And one of the things that struck me about this cathedral, first of all, it was very beautiful. It is probably built primarily by German Catholics, which are very different from Italian Catholics on some levels. And it was mostly gray, primarily stone, these large statues, primarily of men, apostles and teachers and fathers of the church, and all this other, and it had this gray majesty and somberness to it. And I thought about that in reflection to my own childhood, growing up. Like I said, the Catholic part of myself was Italian, and I remember going to Our Lady of the Rosary, which is in the Italian part of San Diego, and it's anything but that. There are more colors than a kaleidoscope, and there are statues, and there's flowers, and there's candles, and when we went to New York, and there was in the Italian area there, there's ceremonies, there's parades, there's all these kinds of things going on. I remember this church, and in the church, all the women and children are sitting in the pews, the women bedecked in jewelry, and all the men are standing behind in suits and sunglasses. It was like a scene out of The Godfather. It was really pretty. But there was this, for us, there was All Souls Day, which is what today happens to be. And the festivals that went around, and the candles, and even in our own home, and stories that were told. And then growing up in Southern California, of course, we're deeply, deeply influenced by Mexico and South America. And you go to Tijuana, you go to any town or city in Mexico today, there are altars almost on every street corner. They're everywhere, there's flowers. By the way, a very cool field trip to do today is go to the Masonic Cemetery, because they do Day of the Dead superbly. But anyway, so there's flowers, and there's ceremonies, there's music, there's food, there's picnics, there's all this kind of stuff going on. And I realize that that's kind of my world too. And it's a way that we sit with this idea of what this day is. And whether it is Samhain, if you come from a Wiccan tradition, or All Souls, if you come from a European Catholic tradition, or Day of the Dead, Dias de los Muertos, if you come from a Latino tradition, it's interesting that they're all kind of around this period of time, this sort of this liminal place that we're in. There's something about that. Diana Butler Bass, in her book A Beautiful Year, writes it this way. She says, "These are the liminal days, a betwixt time, when earth is neither fully one thing or the other, and the veil between time and space thins. At the threshold of what has been and what will be, we more fully understand both the miracle of resurrection and the mystery of death." So if we allow ourselves to have this kind of experience to our own discernment, we may have the experience of what it means to be in liminal time. So I'm going to say a couple things twice because they're really important for me, and I want to share them as just kind of part of what I've been working on this whole week as I sit with this. And the first one is this. Plato says the soul is erotic. The soul, and what he means, he doesn't mean that the soul is sexual in that sense, but the soul is visceral, it's feeling oriented. What motivates the soul is desire. And that the soul is longing, yearning, desiring unity with the Holy One, Ein Sof, that which is all things. And so in each and every one of us, conscious or unconscious, however we work with it, there's a yearning, a desire in each and every one of us that is active. And where we direct it, how we play with it, and again, I don't want to get too Catholic today, but allow me to get a little Catholic today. If you think in terms of Dante and the Divine Comedy, what we see in the different stages, whether it's in the Inferno or Purgatory or the land of the blessed, is what happens when those desires are given fulfillment. Because in Dante's world, the Inferno is simply getting what you want for eternity. Where is your yearning? Where is your desire? Where is your attention? Because that's what manifests. And the other thing I'm going to probably repeat a couple times, as well as this, is that the soul is erotic, is that we experience the transcendent world, the spirit world, the liminal world through our imagination. Because we are talking about something that is not in a physical body, it doesn't reveal itself to us as a physical form, but rather within our own discernment and our own experience and our own imagination. And our imagination is predicated on our perception of things, meaning that if we keep our perception on a tight leash, our imagination will be held at a tight leash. If we let our perception go off and maybe asks questions like, what if? Could this be possible? How about? Those kinds of things create the opportunity for the imagination to express more, expand more. It creates a deeper vehicle. So when I was a kid, we thought we were the Jetsons. That's how modern we thought we were when this song was being sung, Sukiyaki. And we had like a color TV, and we had this big antenna on our house. And we had this dial in our living room. Does anybody remember this? So when you turned on one of the 3 channels, I think there was only 3 at the time, you turned the channel, then you went to this dial and you turned it, and and all of a sudden this very fuzzy, snowy picture would become clearer and clearer and clearer as it got dialed in. And then when you went to the next thing, it would dial in, you know. But in many ways, that's kind of like our imagination. You know, how we dial it in, how we direct our own perception through our own conscious mind. So I just want you to hold those 2 thoughts, that there is a yearning in us, and we can experience more of this world and the world that we don't see or perceive by our capacity to sit with an open imagination. So I just invite those 2 kinds of things to just kind of sit with. So, as I said, this is sort of a liminal time, and it's interesting that seasonally it is for so many, and it's going between one or the other. And we have sort of in our culture, we've sort of commercialized it and Americanized it, and we've made it spooky as opposed to being comfortable with death. Because in many ways, we dance with death. On a day like this, we remember it. But we don't remember it like, who's afraid to die? And that's a big thing. And we sit with this idea of what mortality means, and that is something that we're all going to kind of embrace. But we look at it, our own life, is it finished? And the life of others, are they finished? There's really interesting, I've once read or heard that a ghost is the presence of an absence. It's something missing, but you can feel that it's missing. It's not there, and it being not there is there. You kind of with me on this one? So T. Susan Chang, who is an author that I like in the realm of things swirly, she writes this. She says, where does a shadow come from? From standing in the sun, no shadow. Wherever we go, as long as we are living, we carry our shadows with us. It's the negative space cast by our presence in life. It's a prerequisite and a corollary of our being here. In full daylight, our shadow invites us to contemplate the whole left behind when we are gone. You don't simply vanish, you leave an imprint, a memory, a U-shaped shadow in the hearts of those who love you. To thrive in life is to cultivate the shadow. The brighter the light, the stronger the loss. And this morning, what we're doing is we're creating an altar to honor the shadows of the loss that we feel, of those whom we loved and were loved by, who were important to us, whether they were four-legged or two-legged or whatever the case may be, but they cast a shadow. Their light, their presence is so strong in our life that when they were gone, we feel that presence. And what I'm going to invite us just to consider is that today is a day we can allow ourselves to be in touch with that experience. Something I did today that I don't often do is I opened the doors in the narthex, kind of symbolically to say, what if we opened the doors of perception? What if we opened the doors of invitation? What if the marigolds do create something? What if all these kinds of things in our imagination, would it be possible for us to simply invite those who have parted, that have cast a shadow, a greater shadow, where we experience a loss, that we can, just for this today at least, invite that in? Been reading a lot about C.S. Lewis, and C.S. Lewis had this really interesting experience of death when his wife died. He wrote a book on it. Really, it's more of a journal. It's called A Grief Observed. And grief is an interesting word, is it not? It comes from the Latin word gravare, which means a heavy burden. So grief there's a heaviness about grief. It's a burden that we carry, and I kind of want to explore that a little bit, but before I go into that, I want to speak just momentarily about the inevitability of death itself. You know, in Tolkien, of course I'm going to mention Tolkien, he writes that when Iluvatar created the living, us, humanity, we were given the gift of mortality. And what went sideways with us is that we were seduced into being afraid of it, as if it was something unnatural, as opposed to something that's quite natural. And sometimes even natural things create grief or sadness because something is giving way for something else to happen. And Lewis experienced that, and he wrote at the very beginning of his book, he says it this way, he says, "No one ever told me that grief felt so like fear. I'm not afraid, but the sensation is like being afraid. The same fluttering in the stomach, the same restlessness, the yawning, I keep on swallowing." And we've experienced that, right? When we felt grief, there is something physical that goes on. And he goes on to say this, and he says, "And no one ever told me about the laziness of grief, except at my job, where the machine seems to run as much as usual. I loathe the slightest effort. Not only writing, but even reading a letter is too much, even shaving. What does it matter now whether my cheek is rough or smooth?" So there's a natural preponderancy for us to feel things that feel like fear, that feel like laziness, because they're visceral. We feel them. The soul is erotic. We feel the desire, the longing, and the loss. And what I want to say is, I don't want to say that's a good thing, but I want to just invite us to kind of sit with that, because this was the death of C.S. Lewis's wife was a huge faith crisis for him. And like he wrote, he says, it wasn't the faith crisis of asking myself, is there a God or is there not a God? He says, I worked that one out already. He says, that wasn't the crisis for me, of whether or not there was a God or not. But the crisis is if there is death, what kind of God is this? What kind of God is it that allows death and loss and sorrow? And I think that that's a very interesting theological conversation to go, to do kind of a deep dive. And obviously we don't have all the time on this, but I think we sit with that. Each and every one of us has to come to grips with that experience. What kind of thing is love if love includes loss? Because it does. And it does at every level of our growth. Whether it is the loss of a neighborhood or a friend or going to school and having to give up certain things, our life is a series of transitions. And we become attached to those experiences and we feel the loss of those things gone. And the life of those whom we love creates a space for us that is disorienting, confusing. It feels like fear, it feels like this, it feels like that, it feels like so many things. And yet what Lewis was able to come with is this, is that, first of all, we let go of this idea of some mental, unmoving, unreproachable, omniscient kind of God, but begin to experience God as deeply relational and deeply feeling and deeply connecting to us and desiring and longing us as much as we are desiring and longing it. As I say time and time and time again, the truest thing about each person in this room is that your name is known, you are seen, and you are loved by the very presence that created all that is, however it did it and whatever we know it to be. But the presence of it is love. And that we grieve is evidence that we love. And the deeper we grieve, the deeper that we love, or the deeper evidence of that. And so then the question is, what is left behind? Where are we now? Lewis said something also that was really interesting. He says, if you want to talk to me about God and science and, those kinds of things, I'm all ears. I'm totally into it. He says, if you want to talk to me about what religion does this and what religion does that, I'm all ears. But don't talk to me about how religion consoles you. Because if you do, it simply means that you haven't been there. Because anybody and everybody who has experienced grief knows the last thing they want to hear from anybody is, God needed another angel. It was meant to be. Whatever those kinds of things are, they don't work. Not when we're grieving, they don't work. What works is being seen. That's all. We don't have to fix anything. We just need to be. There's this beautiful story in the Gospel of St. John where Jesus is praying in the Garden of Gethsemane because he's very aware of what's going to be happening. Not because of some kind of thing. He knew he had challenged empire. And empire in this world gets its way. And he knew what was inevitably going to happen. And he was hours before his arrest. He was hiding out, kind of probably going through this, my God, what have I done? And all he can say to his disciples isn't, let's get our swords, let's run away, let's do this, let's do that. What he simply says is, can you stay awake with me? Can you stay awake with me? That's all. And I think that that's true for us. When someone that is in our community or someone who is in our life that we love and they are grieving, we don't need to fix them. There's no words that can be said that can fill that void. But what we can do is be present and to love them and to see them and to beware. And perhaps maybe even God itself is present and seeing. And what if we could, in those moments, allow ourselves this kind of imagination? So I'm going to offer you something this morning, and that is, I do this thing where I do memorials for people, and sometimes I do often I do memorials for people that I don't even know. But I get to know them through the experience of those other, the family members, the friends, whoever they may be, and they share these stories, and it's fascinating. Kind of like what Enrique said, every candle that is burning here is a remarkable story to be told, a remarkable story to be told. And we remember those, and we're with those, and we wait. But what if just for a moment, on this day, what if there was another possibility? And I'm going to invite you to just, if it feels comfortable for you, just to close your eyes and let yourself just be present in this room. And just to feel it. And what if the marigolds, the thinning of the veil of the two worlds, the open doors, the candles, the attention, what if all of that creates the space for those whose candles are lit on this altar to literally come into the room and be present with us here? We can feel the air and we can hear the different sounds. It's just this incredibly beautiful day, and all of our senses are so alive. And what if we can just even allow ourselves just to be present to that feeling, and that person, those persons, that animal, whoever it was, is able to come visit us just for a few moments here and now in this room. And if they did, and if they were present here, what would you want them to know about you now? What would you want them to know? And ask them right now. And listen for that answer. And maybe even you can ask them, what is it that you want to know about them now? To listen to them. What are they saying to you? What do they want you to know? So we just take this moment in gratitude to bless this time, to be deeply aware of all that we feel, to be deeply aware of the love that is in this room on so many levels, remembering those whom we love and we receive love from, thinking about what it is that they want us to know and what we can know. And in closing, I offer this prayer, this poem from Mary Oliver. Still, what I want in my life is to be willing to be dazzled, to cast aside the weight of facts, and maybe even float a little above this difficult world. I want to believe I am looking into the white fire of a great mystery. I want to believe that the imperfections are nothing, that light is everything, that it is more than the sum of each flawed blossom rising and fading. Light is everything, and I do.
Thank you. I'm going to sing a song, the most popular song about Dia de los Muertos, and talking about it's about a ghost, right? And very interesting that you talk about that, because I was deciding what song should I sing, and I think this is the perfect song for this day. The interesting thing about this song is that it's about a ghost. The most famous ghost in Dia de los Muertos in Mexico is La Llorona, right? So supposedly it's a woman walking and everybody's watching her. It's a ghost. Everybody can see it. But the most interesting about this song is so old that it has so many verses. And basically what the verse is talking is basically what the people is feeling when they see her. It's not about her, it's about what the people is feeling. You know, it's sadness. They wonder what she's walking that way, what the face is sad, and it's interesting because it's about the grieving, the part of the grieving, right? But every time I hear this song, it has a very melancholic feeling, but at the same time, it's some song that makes you meditate and think, like, you know, when we remember our loved ones, we remember good moments, sad moments, right? But at the end of the day, they're still alive in our memory. So I'm gonna sing this song, guys, and I hope you guys enjoy. Salías de un templo un día, llorona, cuando al pasar yo te vi. Salías de un templo un día, llorona, cuando al pasar yo te vi. Hermoso huipil llevabas, llorona, que la Virgen te creí. Hermoso huipil llevabas, llorona, que la Virgen te creí. Ay de mi llorona, llorona, llorona de un campo limpio. Ay de mi llorona, llorona, llorona de un campo limpio. Que no sabe de amores, llorona, no sabe lo que es martirio. Que no sabe de amores, llorona, no sabe lo que es martirio. Llorona, 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 llévame al río. Ay de mi llorona, 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 llévame al río. Tápate con tu rebozo, llorona, porque me muero de frío. Tápate con tu rebozo, llorona, porque me muero de frío. Tápate con tu rebozo, llorona, porque me muero de frío. Tápate con tu rebozo, llorona, porque me muero de frío.
Walter's got his own club. He's known and loved.
And transcendent.
And transcendent.
Thank you so much for your music.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Reverend Guy.
You're welcome.
Thank you. So this is just a time to give back. We call it conscious giving. You know, we come here really to be spiritually fed and, of course, to spiritually feed each other. That's what community is. Coming together in unity. So, if you feel moved to contribute to our center to keep it thriving and growing and allowing us to serve you, just take your gift, put it near your heart, and just know it makes a difference, that you make a difference. That as we give, we truly receive. We let the flow of life continue through us and bless. And so it is.
So it is. So I want to thank you guys again for being here. What a joy. It was so nice spending this special day with you guys. Thank you so much. Yeah. It's like one of my favorite movies with Alan Alda. See you same time next year. Yes. And Lee, thank you so much as always. Yes. Yeah. So give some special love today to Deanna and Kurt and Mike, even though Anna's not here. She was cooking like crazy yesterday, and Mike was there, so for the feast. And what I'm going to ask is, this is one of those days that let the sound people and the musicians in line first. So you guys eat first. And what I'm also going to say is I think as part of this day, I strongly encourage you to stay and have something to eat and to visit with someone. This is a tender time, and we may feel a little bit raw and a little bit unsettled, and all the more reason to be with people. Not because we're going to fix you. We're just going to be here with each other. We're just going to see each other through. That's what it's done. As Ram Dass says, we're walking each other home. Jeff, it's always a pleasure having you here. Thank you so much. And for Steve, who is there, and who is greeting today? Larry and you, yes. No, we're going to do a prayer. Yeah, thank you for reminding me. Yeah, if I don't write it down, it goes. So yeah, prayer. Please do not leave without prayer today, and especially today. So if your heart is troubled in any way, you can see one of the practitioners. You can see Liz or Andrea or Paul or Craig, and they would be, or Laura, and they'd be happy just to sit and pray with you for a few moments. Craig will be leading in about 5 or 10 minutes after service. He'll be leading a prayer circle in the Emerson room. You can also fill out prayer requests in the narthex, and we get together, the practitioners get together every Friday morning, and we pray. So there's lots of prayer. And so before that closing song, we will do a blessing. I think I've said everything. I want to lead with it. In my journal here, I have a quote from one of my spiritual heroes, Alfred North Whitehead. And I'll lead this into our closing prayer. God is the poet of the world, with tender patience, leading it by his vision of truth, beauty, and goodness. And so that truth, that remembering, that aletheia which sets us free, that beauty that surrounds us everywhere, and goodness, which is the very force of the universe itself, may they be alive and palpable to us today. May something true, something beautiful, or something good surprise us, bring us to a sense of amazement and wonder and awe. May it lead us into a reverence, a recognition. May that instill within us a yearning of service as a blessing to the world. And so we bless this time together in that consciousness, giving thanks, letting it be, and so it is.
So we're gonna play this song, guys, because before my eyes of curiosity, dust in the wind. You can sing with me, guys, here. All we are is dust in the wind. everything is dust in the wind. Como vida and culture, guys. Thank you very much, guys. Thank you very much for that.